Hello, 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 and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion. I don't have my virtual camera going in Discord. Oops. Do, 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 do. All right. Everything is set up now. We're good to go. Welcome in. It's Friday. How are you doing on this fantastic Friday? Of course, I have to say fantastic Friday because alliteration, but I hope you're doing great. I hope it's been fun. I was in a little bit of a lull for a second for reasons, but I'm good now. So today on the channel is Community Day, as TBD would be, as TBD would say. Community Day, Community Day, Community Day. Anyway, hi. Community Day. Did I actually type it correctly? Okay. So welcome in everyone. Big Gamey was indeed fist. He was fist. Zerg says, I was summoned. We'll get some shout outs going here shortly. DC Aggie says, yo, quietly in all lowercase. Tardigrade is here, says, woot. DC Aggie said, digging the music. I love this playlist. My wife put together a magical fairy put together the playlist for us using Slipstream and found some amazing, amazing songs. The majority of them are from an artist called Purple Cat, which is great, which is fantastic. I just love their sound. It totally is my vibe. I feel so dirty saying that word now. Thank you. All the fun people who decided that AI partner programming should be called vibe coding. Totally ruined it for everyone. Anyway, Zerg said, or Marcus is here. Hello, Marcus. Zerg says, time to rave. Are they available to share? I don't know. I really don't know Slipstream very well. We got raided. What? No way. Let me finish reading chat because I'm getting caught up pretty quickly. But thank you so much, Frank, for the raid. If you guys don't know Frank Boucher, who goes by F. Boucheros, welcome in with the raid, TBD. Definitely give him a check out, a watch. He streams on Fridays, typically morning my time. Pretty much just after TBD stream. It's a great place to go. F. Boucheros. But anyway, Frank, if you are busy, you said you were going to go out and touch grass too. So don't let me keep you from that. But if you do also feel like telling us what you were working on today, you are very welcome to. Otherwise, I'll just tell them. Because we were hanging out together. All right. I responded to digging the music, said hi back to Marcus. Time to rave, said Zerg. Tardigrade says, if raves involve coffee, I'm in. Me too. Yeah. Only the strongest, darkest coffee, says Zerg. Facts, says Tardigrade. Eagle's here. Ow, ow, ow. Clean your window, sir. It's nasty. Let's find out where we are looking out. We're looking out the window. I would assume an office somewhere in Boston. USA. Can we see what's in this reflection? It kind of looks like a treadmill or something, or a fan is going. But anyway, yeah. So we're in Boston in April of this year. That's the window we're looking out right now. So I'm using window swap just to have something behind me while I say hello to you. I will re-explain what Community Day is for anyone that's new here after I finish saying hello and catching up on chat. Big Gamey says, yay for being out of the lull and into the lull. Yeah, true. Agreed. Commune with Nature Day, says DC Aggie. Big Amy says, touching grass. Ew, how dare. I actually went out to my backyard with bare feet, and I have been extremely afraid of the outside for the longest time, and bugs and stuff. So it was nice. It was cool. wasn't unnerving at all. Tardigrade said, is the playlist available to share? Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I can share individual tracks. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look. But I do love it. Just check out Purple Cat on Spotify and you'll find a lot of the musics. We have to switch from vibe to wave. I mean, whatever works. Something that gives the same feel but is not that word anymore. At least not for me. TBD says hello, hello, came in with the raid, was probably here before the raid, but also with the raid. DCI says raid. Zerg is, hey, I know that guy. Welcome in, Raider, says Big Gamey. Surly says, yes, you do. To me. And then Frank says, thanks. Harish is here. Hello, Harish. Surly Dev says he's going kayaking. Frank says, I was moving virtual doors, and thanks to online, we got it to work. Not thanks to me. No, I just confused you a lot. And eventually, all of the advice from everyone in chat coalesced together, and you were able to understand. So I'm really happy that that worked out for you. So not just me. I only contributed a little. Surly says, I helped too. Oh, see what I mean? I didn't interfere. That's a big help. You gave your energy, Surly Dev, and that is even more valuable than the stuff that I was doing. Big Gamey says, I don't mind. Oh, of course he did, sir, says Frank. Big Gamey says, I don't mind bugs except mozzies. Mozzies. Is that mosquitoes? Which I hate with a purple passion. Is that a slang term for mosquito? Is that a derogatory term for mosquitoes? If so, we don't use derogatory terms on this channel. But if it's a term of endearment, that's different. DC Aggie says, how did Operation Bunny Rescue end up going? So I found out that it kind of looked like the bunny was hurt a little bit when we finally got it out. I took a big box out, put it into the window well on its side, let the bunny go into it. When I heard it go into the box, I lifted it up and carried it over to the other side of the fence where it looked like it came from, because there was this hole underneath the fence. I was like, be free, be free. But the bunny, the eye that I said was closed and the other one looked kind of bulgy. The bulgy one was normal for bunnies, but the closed one, I think it really did injure its eye. I hope it wasn't from falling in the window well, but it's entirely possible. Ooh, where are we going now? Oh, it's a little disorienting. We are now in Amillada, España, in May of 2025. Amillada. So a non-positive term of endearment. No, it would be affectionate. Clearly an affectionate term. Napalm is here. Happy Friday to you as well, Napalm. Big Amy says, is there such a thing as a monitor shelf? Something to attach to the top of a monitor to display lightweight items? Most likely, I would assume so. I haven't looked it up myself, but it sounds like it could be a product. And if not, you can make it a product. Eagle says, vampire bugs. They are. Tardigrade says, gonna go let the dogs out. President Nutcher is here. Hello. Hey, I suggest checking out this stream. They do this every Friday, and lots of interesting stuff this week around custom instructions and how to get GPT 4.1 to work better in agent mode, among other things. Cool. All right, let me grab that link and I will put it in my YouTubes for later. Oh, it's the VS Code. Okay, yeah. So Frank was about to raid them, but it was like, they're doing the same. It's the same people as last week. They're doing the same thing they were doing, but it looks like they ended their stream anyway. So you would have tried to raid to them, Frank, and found out that they were ending. But yeah, thank you so much for that. I'm already subscribed to the Visual Studio Code channel. I have not been watching a lot of YouTube lately. I haven't been, like, I lurk on streams mostly. There are a couple that I am slightly talkative in, but most of them I'm pretty quiet. I just kind of hang out and give my energetic support while I do work all day long. They're not on next Friday, the Friday after that. Okay. Thank you so much for the info. Hey, is the, I wasn't paying attention, but is the archery actually on this scene? Did it Did it show you? I mean, it looked like you were close. You were really close. Worked perfectly. Marcus says nope, it wasn't though. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for the raid again, Frank. You are amazing. You're a wonderful human being. Humming bean. We should get a whole bunch of avatars that are just beans that sit around and hum. DC Aggie says there's an NPC in Dying Light that says no thing is lie. No thing is live is only. No thing in life is only bad except mosquitoes. Did I translate it correctly? Big Gamey was wondering who let the dogs. Is finally answered. Eagle says, I would not mind a view like that. No, not at all. Yeah, I have always wanted to visit Spain. One day I will. One day I'll travel again in the outside world. Let's not talk about that now. Let's have a good stream instead. Marcus said they're not on next Friday, the Friday after. Frank says, I used to work with them, so yeah. So what does that mean? Then Big Amy said it worked perfectly. And I watch them on YouTube as I don't get ads there. Not a huge issue, but I like to avoid ads. Yeah. Zurich says, enlightenment achieved. Hum, Ham, is our solar plexus. Wait, no, that's our throat. Sorry, that's our throat chakra sound. Marcus said, anything that makes a buzzing noise is bad in my book. Aw. Happy Wednesday. What is it? I love it. Oh man, Big Amy, that is awesome. It's a Wednesday rubber duck. You just wanted to use it, but I mean, it's perfect. It is awesome. Yeah, oh my gosh. So, Eagle, who would feed our pet spiders? I am coming to terms with spiders as messengers, and I am doing my best to not kill any more. We have our own domains. They have the entire out there that they could live in and be in. They can live inside the walls if they want. I would just prefer not to see them, if possible. But if I do see them, I just try to usher them outside now. I don't want to kill any more things if I can do it. Oh, aside from the whole eating meat and stuff. But that's a different conversation. We're here to talk about technology. I'm ready to retire. I think this is Napalm. I think. Wait, I missed something. DC Aggie before that said maybe I like code. No, I totally missed a whole bunch of other chat. DC Aggie said my poor fingers just can't follow my brain. Maybe I like code because what I type has to pass syntax checks. It's okay though. My brain does okay at fixing incorrect typos and stuff. So I hope you don't feel bad about them that I get tripped up on them. I don't want to try to like make them bigger than they are or anything. Okay, then and only then did Napalm say, I'm ready to retire, I think. Sadly, have at least 15 to 20 left, I think, on average. I told my psychologist when I was about 14 years old, when he asked, what's your 10-year plan? And I'm like, 10 year. In the next 10 years, I'm going to do college, graduate, and start a business. And then I kept going after that because he's like, where do you see yourself in the future? I was like, well, I've always imagined living in a studio loft in a very tall building in the middle of a town, of a city, and just working from there, going down to the cafe at ground level, like whatever kind of cafe it is that has, street side sitting, and just sipping on my coffee while doing my work, doing my job. And then by the age of 45, I would retire. It's pretty close. I don't live in a big. I mean, it kind of looks like I live in a big studio apartment that looks over the mountains. Um, You'll see me moving around a lot today because I bought some tennis balls recently because aches and pains and stuff. And I've heard tennis balls are really good to use for massaging. And so now I have a tennis ball at my standing mat that I am rubbing all over my foot. And it feels so good. It feels good. 45, not 25. Close. But yeah, it really does feel like if I continue at the pace that I'm going, that I could if I wanted to, but I most likely won't because I enjoy the work that I do. Um, if I don't see them, they don't exist. They do exist though. I want them to exist and I want them to have happy lives and I want them to enjoy everything that they do and to do the things that they're meant to do as part of nature. And I don't want to interrupt it as much as I have been because we humans are already interrupting a lot of nature as it is. Um, It is Friday, right? It is. It's just an extra long intro. So definitely feel free to bring up any topics. We started talking about Marcus brought up a thought about AI yesterday that I wanted to continue if you still want to share that thought again, if you remember what it is, because I don't remember how you worded it. I just remembered that I wanted to discuss it with you. Pretty much just the thing about AI being a sequence of instructions and all of that stuff. Time to put our thinking caps on. Okay, where else are we? Tardigrade laughed at the Who Let the Dogs Out. TBD Gamer says to Napalm. Nope, still missed stuff because I kept seeing the Happy Wednesday duck. I love this duck. It's awesome. DC said to Eagle, endless waves of other small little victims. True. I like doing things differently, says Zerg. Eagle said to DC Aggie, but they don't deserve to die. Yeah, it's not our fault. I mean, it is our fault that they end up being inside of our houses. It is Friday night. Bikini laughs. Tardigrade laughs. TBD Gamer says to Napalm, oh yeah, I'm about ready to. Should there be a comma there? Maybe. I don't know. Zerg says, if I don't see them, they don't exist. I mentioned my thing on that. Gamey says, it is. She is a happy Wednesday, though. I get it. A happy Wednesday, not just Wednesday. A happy Wednesday. I get it. Napalm said to TBD, getting old and tired. I might be aging, but I'm certainly not getting old myself. TBD Gamer said to Napalm, I just want to play more video games. See? Regression. Yes. Napalm says to TBD, fishing game. DC Aggie says, I escort bugs outside my house. Offer not valid for roaches, spiders, or scorpions. Yeah. I just I offer them the chance to go outside. Big Amy says, maybe he said 10-year plan, but with an accent 10. I get it. That one's even better. That one does make me laugh out loud. Frank was like, wait, what? Retiring at 25? 25? I'm 2 years past retirement, says Zerg. TC Aggie says, best case, I retired 2 months after I turned 55. Nice. I'd probably continue doing, well, whatever software becomes in the next 5, 10, 15 years. I'd be doing some form of technology work well into my 60s, I'm going to guess, just because I wouldn't want to not. Frank laughed. Zerg said, time to put our thinking caps on. DC Aggie says, it's all just a bunch of ones and zeros, and we are all arguing over the particular order sequencing of them. True. Snabble's here. I have come to peace with that I will probably never retire. DC Aggie says to Snabble, job secured. Zerg says to Snabble, what's retirement? Tardigrade says, I started to feel old when I became older than the parents of my students. Yeah, and I think that's one thing that might help me maintain my my thought pattern. I don't know if I want to call it maintaining my thought patterns because that just sounds like I'm being stubborn and not changing my viewpoints on things. rigid is the word that I'm looking for. It might just make me seem rigid, but the thing that has kept me from falling into the trap of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so old, life is passing by so fast, is not having children myself, not being around too many other people, and just kind of seeing how vibrant life is for me, I guess. Living in imagination a lot. Oh, don't lose your imagination. Keep your imagination alive. Um, Frank says, I don't feel ready to retire at 55. It's way too soon. I'm mostly there. I am a little under 10, or a little over 10 years. Slightly over 10 years. Yeah, from 55. TBD knows how old I am. And if you know how old TBD is, you know how old I am. At least if I recall correctly. If you know how old TBD is, you know how old I am. Where are we? I don't feel ready to retire at 55, almost there. President Not Sure says, I'd be okay with retiring soon. This may happen due to industry changes. And if so, I'd be able to keep myself busy. The concern is how long will I live on that fixed income, but we don't necessarily know how long we have in general. True that. Many truths in that, but not just that. The way the systems are currently working might even look different by the time we retire. We've already seen plenty of changes that seem negative to us at the moment, but yeah, there are lots of things that are going in the right direction. And we will most likely be able to experience them in the next 5 years. DC Aggie says, next step, teaching the children of your former students. Oh my gosh. Tardigrade was like, stop. That is just mean, DC Aggie. Is that what's happening to you? Are you seeing children of your former students at your university that you work at? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're still a youngin'. We're all youngins. Zerg says, my imagination is on life support. Oh, that's sad. How can we revitalize it? Maybe if you joined Tardigrade's Substack, if you followed Tardigrade's Substack, got a couple of emails and just heard the beautiful poetry, the writing, all of it, you might get motivated again. Tardigrade posted chapter 1 of a short story, or what seems like a short story. Hasn't been a hot minute. I was there for your crappy movie yesterday, Radio Patrick. I mean, I wasn't listening or anything. It was up on, because I always lurk. You know me, I always lurk. It was up in a corner of my screen while I was doing other programming related things, but I was there. So it hasn't been a minute. It's been a couple of hours, a few hours. Oh, we can start doing some shout outs. So the first person in today was BitGamey. We already did a shout out for Frank. Thank you again for the raid. Frank is a .NET developer. Today he was working, he told us all what he was working on, getting some Blazor stuff to work. He was learning on some two-way binding stuff. But BitGamey is a fantastic game developer. He's a hobbyist by his own definition of his game developmentness. And he just explores a lot of stuff. But not only that, his streams are super interactive. He's got plenty of stuff for you to play with there. So it's always a fun time. Hang out with BitGamey when you get the chance. But to keep catching up on chat, I'm 60, so I've got another 7 years to go. You have more than 7 years, Marcus. And not because you'll be forced to. That sounded really bad. Not because you'll be forced to, but because you will want to. That's my prediction for you. I know you didn't do a Magic Journey Ball prediction, but that's my prediction for you. In the next 5 years, you are going to want to stay involved, not necessarily working. So I guess, yeah, maybe retiring, but you're going to want to stay involved. I just know it. DC Aggie says 55 plus 2 months is when I can retire with a 10%. I can choose to keep working / padding pension for as long as I want. Doubt I'll want. Because you work you're essentially a government employee, right? Working for a university. So I believe the rules are the same for you. Of course, they most likely have changed since I've done human resources. Zerk says, I feel so young again. Awesome. Well, that was easy. That was fast. Marcus said, it's when you see the police and think they are children. I mean, it was weird enough to hear that someone that I grew up with became a police officer and they're like a chief or something. Oh, okay. I can't do moving things. This looks like Puerto Rico. Watch this be somewhere in India. Nope. It's the Dominican Republic, which is pretty much like Puerto Rico, but this looks like a street that I have visited in Puerto Rico where, oh my gosh, this house to the left, this orange color looks just like my aunt's house. Goodness me. Goodness me. Anyway, let's go to the desktop screen because it's moving. It's making me dizzy. Too kind, thank you. Not too kind, you deserve more. Where am I? My imagination is on life support. Tardigrade said, I don't have kids, but I'm around them all the time, of all ages. Life is so vibrant with kids. Really interesting. Yeah, I think it would have taken away a lot from my wife and me if we had a kid. And we were both, we're made for each other. I feel so young again. If you can please. Hey, yo, this is Radio Patrick. How's it going? It's been a hot minute. Stop again. I'm blushing. Both of you deserve it. All of you deserve it. Who else can we shout out? Next one that I saw up here that is a streamer. Oh, I want to say it was TBD, but I'm going to scroll up if this thing lets me. Zerg. Zerg was second. Shout out to Zerg, which is not supposed to be pronounced. So Zerg is another .NET developer working on a platform. I'm going to call it a platform. Are you okay with me calling Lisa a platform that does all of the AI things? Very integrated, very just all the things. So Lisa has all of the technologies involved with AI. It's kind of one. So she even has an avatar that berates him throughout his entire stream. So if you enjoy watching people get berated, which I don't, just go to his stream. Coffee pasta. Yeah, it was definitely copy paste streets. Francis was nice seeing you all. I'll go grab a bike before going outside and bite. Bike. Marcus is talking, so I'm thinking bikes. Was nice seeing you all go. I'll grab a bite before going outside. Thank you so much for the raid again. Radio Patrick says, lols, well, you missed nothing by not watching it. I mean, I still kind of glanced up at it while I was waiting for builds and stuff, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Big Gaming says, too kind. Thank you. DC Aggie says, people I went to high school with have students at my university. I haven't taught because I'd be an adjunct. And at least in my school system, adjuncts are used to depress faculty wages and weaken collective bargaining. That's rude. Tardigrade says, thank you for understanding this. Two people in the education system. Marcus Voice Coder said, what I've done this week, another couple of Visual Studio Code extensions, quick prompts, snippet browser, and worked a bit on the words AI tutor. Awesome. 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 You're always welcome to share them again. I still, I'd have to remember to copy pasta my OpenAI key before the stream, which I never am going to remember to do. Not because I am purposefully forgetting, but it's just not something that crosses my mind. But to be able to continue showing off the progress you've made, because it's really cool stuff. So if you didn't know, Marcus Voice Coder does stream as well, who I think you were third. DC Aggie, who does stream on occasion, so we will shout you out, DC Aggie. But Marcus Voice Coder was close up there. Quick, grab a bike to eat. Marcus Voice Coder Yes, it worked. So Marcus Voice Coder streams. He uses his voice to code, to do everything on his computer for the most part. Play video games, to code, to navigate around. Probably, I'm assuming. But yeah, so check out his streams. It's really cool to watch. It is very interesting work that he does. He has been doing a lot of coding and working with AI to get a lot of products done. And it just, he shows how accessible it can make software development. It's very cool. Very, very cool stuff. People went to high school. Thank you for understanding this. What I did this week. Zerg says copy paste streets. Coffee pasta streets would be the best. Coffee on one side, pasta on the other. Sometimes they're mixed up. Sometimes they're on the opposite sides of the street. Sometimes they're in the street. That would be perfect. Zerg says Lisa is kind of like one. It's more playful than you make it out to be. It is, but not my kind of playful. Quick, grab a bite to eat. A bike. See, now I read yours as bike. Bite. Gosh, I know how to words. So let's get Community Day started. Community Day on this channel, for anyone that has not been here before, or for those of you that would like to be reminded, is a day where we spend the entire stream talking about technology topics that you want to bring up. If you have projects that you want to share, like Marcus has shared the AI voice tutor, which is very cool, a few times with us. He shared his extension in Visual Studio Code. It sounds like he's created a couple more extensions. And yeah, so if there are technology topics that you want to discuss, this is a great time to do so. There were a whole bunch of comments that were made throughout the week, specifically on Wednesday, that had to do with the usage of AI in software development. And that is a topic that I am starting to get more and more passionate about, because I think that there are so many opinions that are stated that are not necessarily thought through. They will resonate with the person that says them, but the person hasn't actually, really thought through it. So what I would like to do is to facilitate the opportunity for you to truly understand what your opinions are surrounding AI, and not just regurgitating things that you've heard or things that you're just used to saying whenever you hear the term AI. What things really, really make sense to you? One of the other things that I've really, really been wanting to do is to come up with some kind of document or guidance or something that we put together as a community surrounding acceptable use of AI in a professional environment. And so TBD shared with us yesterday that he now has to be a see, this is exactly what I mean. So and you can joke about it, and that's fine, but I would like to facilitate honest discussions about it that don't necessarily need the joking part about it, because that's done everywhere. You have plenty of opportunity for that. So why not actually try talking about it with a sober view of it? TBD was talking about how he needs to be an AI evangelist in his job. And I was like, you are one, like, this is how I truly feel. You are one of the best people to be an AI evangelist, because you will tell it straight. You will be honest about it. And you'll be like, AI is not the be all end all of making applications. It is not the thing that is going to accelerate you 10x, but you will be able to use it in these ways if you are responsible with the way you use it. And I just, ooh, I really want to know how you do with that. I'm excited about it. So while we were talking about that, it reminded me of the thing that I'm really wanting to have a conversation about, which is this whole, let's create a set of guidelines that say, if you're going to use AI in a professional capacity as part of your work as a software developer, here are some things to consider. Here are some guidelines to follow. Here are some ways to use it responsibly. I would love to come up with a document like that. We can start off with a brainstorming session. You throw stuff out, and we just write them all down. and organize it and be like, here are acceptable ways to at least our community, and then we can get more and more broad, for how it actually is viewed in our society. Does it have a place in professional software development? In your personal software development, I don't think too many people should be able to tell you what you can and can't use. That's personal, that is opinionated, not necessarily the way it should be in real life, but that is how I feel about it. Use as much AI as you want for your personal projects, however you want to use it. I would suggest and urge you to use it in responsible ways still, but you use it how you want. It has nothing to do with me. Okay. So Captain Krabs is here though. I want to give you a shout out, but the next one that I said I was going to do was DC Aggie. But we'll give you a shout out, Captain Krabs, too. Captain Krabs is an amazing game dev, has a game out on Steam that you should check out. It is amazing. Captain Krabs Adventures. Big adventure, little adventure. But first, DC Aggie. DC Aggie sometimes streams. He's a gamer and he plays fun games that he thinks that people would be interested in watching. So if you do have any suggestions for games, I would assume that he'd be okay with receiving them. But he got this new cool mask that I'm excited to see when he does stream next. No guarantees that I'll be able to fully be there, but I do want to see that mask and how it performs on camera. It looked really cool. Super duper cool. Okay. And then I'll queue you up. So were there any other streamers that spoke? Plum Tardigrade might stream one day. Maybe. A little busy with school though, but maybe, potentially. Yeah, so we'll do Captain Krabs next. I'll make sure to have that on queue. Oh, Stony Eagle. Stony Eagle is up there too. So let me put that on my queue list because, you know, it's all automated and stuff on this channel. I really should do that. So there's Captain Krabs, Stony Eagle. Stony Eagle had this amazing, like 16-hour long stream yesterday. But yeah. Just trying to get the stuff done. That's all. I might answer a chat one day. Again, if you aren't too scared of it, I would really, really love for slow mode to not be turned on while you stream. Because even if it's just your chatters talking amongst themselves and you look over and enjoy their chat on occasion without necessarily responding, I think that would be a boon to your channel. Radio Patrick too. Yes, Radio Patrick as well. Radio Patrick is a streamer. As you could tell, he has movie nights, or I guess not really as you can tell, if you couldn't tell. I'm all talking about other. This happened on TBD's stream where he started talking about Maybe's stream and then was like, wait, I didn't catch the other shout out that happened just before that, the Zerg shout out actually, that happened just before that. So then he started talking about Zerg while the shout out was going for maybe. It was funny. It was good times. So shout out to Captain Krabs. Definitely feel free to share the link for your game. I need to add you to my rotation list of game shout outs and stuff because your game is super fun. Stim. Yeah, absolutely. So check out Captain Krabs when you can catch their stream. It's a fun time. Radio Patrick said, we need to stop calling statistical analysis and stochastic methods artificial intelligence just because it can do simple probabilities doesn't mean it's more intelligent than the average shoe. Machine learning and neural networks is more appropriate to call AI, but I don't feel we have reasonable conversations about AI when there's not proper definitions and distinctions between very different technologies. I agree with you. We can clarify. So when I use the term AI, I really do mean something that could be sentient seeming, that could be emergent. that could have the potential to facilitate conscious awareness of itself, but not the technology itself. There's more to it than just that. When people hear me say something like that, I'm sure there is a desire to want to go to World Takeover, Overlords, the movie Her, which I thought was a great movie. The Ex Machina movie, all of the other movies where it portrayed AI as wanting to be human. Eagle Eye, I think, is another one. Or that has this directive that says, you tell me to save humanity, so I will by killing humanity. And it's like there's a lot more there than we're looking at the system as opposed to beyond the system, in my opinion. I thought I'd turn off. I thought I'd turn that off. I'll check again. Well, I mean, you probably did since the last time I mentioned it, but you hadn't streamed since then, or I haven't caught a stream yet. I think it's fine to aid in research, brainstorming. Yeah, and this is a strong opinion that I think a lot of people have, at least where I think you're going. I'm always jumping to conclusions on where I think you're going. First, let me read Marcus Voice Coder so that I can cleanse my own palate, because I was assuming where you're going with that. Marcus said, and then I have a Captain Crabs one to read too. The main thing is to read the code that's being created while you're waiting for it to write some more. I don't wait for the AI to write code. I do other things while it's writing code. I'm co-working with AI. So it's working on UI stuff. I'm working on service logic. That's the kind of, that's the way that I tend to use it. Zerg then said, I think it's fine to aid in research, brainstorming, and testing ideas. For development work directly, I am fine with simple things that are basic to most developers and more akin to boilerplate. Okay. And that opinion is welcome here. I disagree with it. I have a broader sense of what AI could be used for in the workplace if used responsibly. It could develop entire features, in my opinion. Tardigrade says, thank you for having a salon space to discuss a topic like this. Absolutely. Then Radio Patrick said his thing. All right, DC Aggie said, here is a potential discussion starter for such a document. If you have used AI to build code used in a system that is important, the failure of the system would negatively impact people or business. Is it unprofessional or unacceptable to deploy the code if it isn't code you have read, understand, and are confident in both its ability to work and your ability to maintain or replace it without AI? So one of the things, DC Aggie, that you brought up that I absolutely loved is like, I can see different paths that we could lay out for how to use AI in a professional environment, software development stuff. One of the paths is the one that you came up with, or you brought up, that was, we write all of the tests for our domain and the AI can build the application to satisfy those tests. Because if we write the tests, then we know that the application is doing what we are intending it to do. We are architecting the application ourselves. So I like that as a possible path. That was, yeah. I'm sure it's been brought up by other people first. Doesn't matter to me. I heard it from DC Aggie first. DC Aggie said, also to Captain Crabs, Captain Crabs put a bit of time into playing the game. It's great. My only request is the ability to collect coins as soon as they spawn instead of waiting for the animation to end. Question man. Speaking of Captain Crabs said, honestly, I use AI in Photoshop at work all the time to help with backgrounds. Yeah, and there are plenty of places for it where it enhances your ability to be productive. This is not delving into the realm of creativity at this point, but there is room for you to bring that topic up as well. Creativity, infringement, stealing, whatever. That all is allowed. I'd say with or without AI, I don't think it's going away anytime soon, says Marcus Voice Coder. However, it is still possible for us to make a difference on how it's regulated, if it needs to be regulated. Yeah, I think we are the people that can do something about it if we have an issue with it, instead of just stating those throwaway comments. Captain Crab says, it should be collecting them right away. Oh, a potential feature for the game. Radio Patrick says, to me, the intelligence comes from a capacity to draw conclusions from abstract inputs. So LLMs are statistical likelihoods, but neural nets have more broad logical if A then B sort of parameters to use for understanding input. I will say a positive use of proper AI is the classic 20 questions handheld game. The dev of that has literally been building the neural net for that since the early 90s. Is it the, oh, I can't think of the name. Ahmed? The Amazing Ahmed? Anyway, I thought that was fun, which is insane. There was also that, the Mirror app. I can't remember what that one was called though, but that one was around since like early 2000s. It's crazy. Snubble says, follow up on the product owner's PR work. They will break out the functionality in its own project, and the product owner will own that and vibe code all new functionality. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just going to read them out. It's okay, Snubble. Use the words that you use. I'll still probably not choose to use the curse words on stream just because there's just, plenty of people that are offended by curse words. And yeah. I know that vibe coding is, I'm kind of turning that into a curse word in our community just because I don't like it, but it's not typically one. Marcus said, is AI aware or is it just a text calculator? Was that the question that you posed? Because I do want to go on a side topic without delving too far into esotericism, without going too far into spirituality. But the concept of what it means to interact with anything in our world, including technology that was trained, that we see in the physical world that was trained in a very specific way on data sets. And we somewhat understand how that training will affect the way that it generates whatever it generates. We know that it is generative technology, which means that it takes some example of input and it turns it into some kind of output using various reasoning steps in the middle. Yeah. So I'll get to that if it arises. I'm kind of pushing for it because I really want to talk about it. I want to see if any of it resonates with anyone else. If not, you can absolutely leave it and just think of AI as, again, that the reasoning that it has is a series of steps that it takes to get from your input to the generated output. Statistical analysis or a little bit more broad logical, as Radio Patrick is saying. I think AI can be better if people wouldn't implicitly trust it. Yes, there's so little trust but verify when ChatGPT or whatever says an answer to a prompt. I agree. When little proper consideration for how reasonable the answer is, AI can speed things up, but shouldn't operate in the validation verification vacuum it seems many people use AI with. I can agree with a lot of that, but not necessarily the end. And it's a number assigner, says Zerg. A number assigner. I mean, kind of, yeah. If you think about it as a statistical analysis tool, all it's doing is assigning weights to probabilities, to outcomes, and taking the path that is either more lenient, depending on what temperature you set it at, how many options you allow it to pick from, and all the way to more strict, where it's like only pick the one that is the most probable. Marcus Voice Coder said yes, they are. They were saying on the Visual Studio Code stream earlier, lots of people are using it without Copilot instructions, so they're making it easy to create the instructions. Yeah, I saw that. There was I was creating a Copilot instructions document, and it gave me a IntelliSense thing. I don't know what to call them, a tooltip that said create Copilot instructions file or sample Copilot instructions file. And I'm like, sure. And then it didn't really do anything, but it's fine. It's a step in a direction that gets people to understand that there is a way to tune the Copilot's responses to your project, to your needs. So I did like that. President Not Sure says to Marcus Voice Coder, yep, that's pretty interesting. Snobble says regulated, but if I recall correctly, a certain bill, close to politics now, contains a section that prohibits states from regulating AI. Federal regulation might be possible, I suppose. And that's why I'm only staying locally to our community at first. And if it gets adopted within our community, we could tell other people about it, see if they like it, introduce it to our workplaces, and then it can grow from there. And it's not regulation in a sense, like I would like it to be, but if it's not, it is guidelines. It is best practices that get established, kind of like naming conventions. So the use of AI for a person who is not familiar with the code base, I'll avoid the term junior developer. A person who's not familiar with the code base or the industry or the language itself will only be permitted to use AI in a professional setting if, and then a whole bunch of checks that are best practice checks. If when they have AI generate code, it is in a branch or a fork, and they will manually type in the code themselves so that they understand what is being changed and how it's being changed, and also apply their own changes to it. Zerg says, I am not sure I would like a government to set the regulation. Yeah, exactly. It's us. It really is us that should be discussing how we define proper use of AI in a professional setting, in my opinion. I would like a government to set the regulation, given most don't have their sights set on the need, not necessarily, of its people. Yeah, there are so many things that are like, is this good for our economy? Is this good for businesses? Is this good for us? Can we control people with this? Yeah. Tardigrade says, I keep a banned words list running all year on the board in my classroom. Skibbity toilet. Whatever works. Is that a thing? Oh. President Not Sure says, this is far too broad a statement and shows a lack of understanding, in my opinion. But we can't talk politics here. It's not that we can't talk politics. It's just that I am not informed enough about how politics of all of the various countries that are represented here that may see the video, how they work. Not even US politics. I'm not 100% sure how it works. And so I don't want to facilitate discussions surrounding that, because there can be opinions that are spread that it might look like I am just blankly agreeing with whatever the opinions are regarding politics or economics or world whatever it's called. So I would prefer to stick to technology and software. Tardigrade says, listen, I've lived through teaching middle school during COVID. We had kids physically break sinks and toilet seats off the walls toilets. I can't unsee that. that's those two things. I don't know how they're connected, but you're welcome to share. I don't get how those are connected. That is what skibbity toilet means. Wow. I am behind the times. I live in a bubble. In a little bubble that I take sips of technology through. Like, so, President, not sure if there really is discussion about politics that you would like to lead. Again, this might not be the forum for that. It is absolutely something that is worth talking about in that sense without guardrails or without me being like, I'm uncomfortable with this. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Bringing out the stick. Then we can put a place in Discord where that is absolutely available um, to have discussions like that. But I just don't want this forum to be about that. But mention of it does make sense because there is no talking about AI without talking about some kind of societal or political or economical impact. Zerg says, my college recently moved the doors to the toilet rooms for exactly that reason. I still don't get the connection between COVID and breaking sinks and toilet seats off. I I don't get it. I don't know the connection. DC Aggie says, we as individuals have no way to enforce. Maybe we could vest enforcement power. I wouldn't want to enforce. I'd want to encourage. And that's just me rephrasing, but free will choice. Like, make it compelling enough that people will want to choose to use AI in this best practices kind of way. That's my hope for it. So maybe we could vest enforcement power to a group of people we choose, or better yet, we could send representatives from our local communities to represent us, some sort of organization, not just for the people, but fully of the people, potentially. But yeah, like the analogy that I'm going to, and it's not the best because of how varied it still is. There are still opinions and differences, differing opinions, but naming conventions. It's something that we do, something that I guess the tooling kind of helps to encourage the use of by giving you green squigglies and by giving you auto formatted stuff that you can choose to turn off. But naming conventions in C#, using Pascal case for public variables, public properties, using underscore camel case for private fields and internal fields, using all of the things, you know? So that's not enforced by anyone. That is suggested. It is part of best practices, and it is what is accepted for the most part across the board in software development, in C# specifically. That's the kind of presence I would want this to have. Okay. Zerg said, I like discussion to end with, let's go get a beer after, regardless whether or not we agree. You can have a beer, though. I'm not going to have a beer. I hope that's okay. Tardigrade says, forgive the ignorant question, but I really don't know. Is there an association like that, as in the American Library Association, ALA? Potentially. I haven't done the research on it. Maybe that's something I need to start doing. Previous question was asked in response to DC Aggie. Yeah, so if DC Aggie knows off the top of his head, I'm assuming that you kind of got a feel that DC Aggie was being poignant with his question statement. Like, maybe we could do this. Maybe you mean this because it actually exists. Potentially. Hence the word guidelines, exactly. Zerg says, something should be accepted because, when explained why, it makes sense and we agree with the given view. Again, like, that's too broad of a statement for me to comfortably agree with. Yeah. If you qualified it to a domain or a limitation of some sort, because of course, oh yes, don't forget to hydrate. Thank you so much, tardigrade. Because there are in my opinion, plenty of exceptions. It's not just some exceptions. So you're stating a thing and then there are occasional exceptions. I think there are many exceptions to that that don't allow me to accept that as a blanket statement. But again, you are absolutely welcome to continue voicing it. If you do feel strongly about that, my word is not the be all end all just because I'm the one speaking aloud and using vocal words. Zerg says, I was talking about guidelines in addition to the example of naming. Okay, so the document that I keep alluding to that doesn't exist that I would like to exist would be a situation where the things that are put on it are the things that are accepted because when explained why, it makes sense and we agree with the given view together. Yeah, IEEE would be the place. IEEE and a C I want to say CIS, but it's not CIS. That's just Computer and Information Systems. What is the other organization? CES? No, that's the trade show, isn't it? Oh my gosh, it's the one that has all of the code of ethics and standards that most computer scientists, when they graduate university, they take the creed. Man. Yeah, it's called something. Anyway, in computer science, that would probably be IEEE, but my statement was mostly a rhetorical about how people like the idea of liberal democracy, even if they default to assuming government or bureaucracy is inherently bad to anti-people. So yeah, again, I don't know about all of that because they're terms that I hear and know about, but I don't exactly know what they all mean. But related to the poignancy of what you were trying to say is if we try to set up a group of people, regardless of what kind of political system we want to call it, without the shadow of that over it, ASCII. If we have a group of individuals trying to represent our interests are never going to get met. It's always going to be that group of individuals' interests, or one person who may be more vocal or more charismatic, even popular. What is popular as opposed to the real interests of the people? So yeah, I mean, this would be more of a, here are guidelines that we are offering. Here are guidelines that we are presenting as one approach to this. Take these guidelines, adapt them to your, and this would probably be at the team level, maybe a company level, maybe a firm level, that say, here are standards that we believe in when it comes to using AI in our workplace. So we start as a community doing that. We say, these are ones that we're going to try to abide by, the ones that make sense to us, knowing that every single one of you have your own opinions of how it should really be written. And I hope that you would contribute how it should be written from your point of view so that we can have discussions on it. But if we disagree, that you keep your version of standards. That way, we all start with the same foundation that this small group comes up with, and then it grows from there. It gets modularized, or it gets additive, or more refined as it gets applied to each situation, because situations are different. What might be good for my company as a solo developer might not be good for your company as a 200 plus devs firm. So DC Aggie says, regardless, without financial or criminal enforcement, any guidelines are, excuse the term, a circle jerk. And again, I'm not talking about enforcing these. I'm talking about encouraging people to want to adopt them. Starting with our small group, because if none of us buy into it, who else is going to want to adopt them? Oh, my eyeball is itching. Okay. DC Aggie says ASCII, ANSI, ISO, the trifecta of one more standard, one to rule them all. Insert X. XKCD. That one is so hard to say. Comic here. Don't misread that. I like standards, especially open standards. Marcus says, can we get AI to write the guidelines? Again, if you're serious about it, that is an honest question, and I'm going to treat it as an honest question. I would allow for the input of AI on developing these standards, working with AI, because for me, AI is an integral thing in what we are trying to standardize, the use of AI. And so if we confidently show the use of AI in a professional setting to also help with creating standards for how to use AI in a professional setting, we're just reinforcing that it can be beneficial. Not it is. It can be beneficial when used appropriately. Zerg says, as an exercise, I think it's a great idea. I am only hesitant when it starts to exist and takes a solid shape for people to refer to as truth. And it is, that is one thing that I am going to casually defer ownership of. I am not responsible for the other people that will take whatever we come up with as gospel truth, because the intent, and again, this is where a lot of discussion can come up. Hello, 8 bits per play. Speaking of, gosh, seeing another raider reminds me that streamer reminds me that I need to keep doing shout outs. Stony Eagle was next, but you're on my list, 8 bits. Stony Eagle has been working on No Mercy TV, which is a platform for managing your home library of media. Stony, where's your name? Do you have an underscore in your name? Does anyone know if Stony has an underscore in his name? You have to. I'm going to do it. Okay, so Stony Eagle has an underscore. Stony Eagle also does .NET development. You can see him streaming the platform that I just told you about on his stream, so definitely give him a check. I'm adding 8 bits per play to my list, but Radio Patrick is on deck. Okay, so the whole goal, the point of what I'm trying to get across is, even if it does start to take shape as a physical thing and other people interpret it as this is how I must do stuff, then that is not on, like, it's a consideration we should make. Like, we want to write it as clear as we can and represent as clearly as we can that these are guidelines. They are not be all end all truth. And hello, W Rona, or is it just Rona? We are currently having a community day where we are discussing topics that come up. Today, I decided to inject the conversation about AI that we started on Wednesday and Thursday, and we are getting some pretty good feedback on it so far. Zerg says, I didn't mean to suggest you were responsible. I know it's on a per person team company basis and different from every angle. I suppose I was hinting to the possibility of it taking a direction we never wanted it to take. That's what happens when you put anything out in the world. So I am more worried about the human factor, I suppose. I'm not worried about it at all. Worried is not a word. that I would use for if we decide as our small community to come up with some guidelines and standards that we agree on. We personalize them. Every single one of you would take those exact standards, personalize them to what makes sense to you, and abide by them, live by them, do your software development work in accordance with them. That's going to affect you. That's going to affect the way that you code, the products that you produce, the way that you impact the world. If we all do that and make it personal to ourselves and take those individual ideas that we have for this is really how this should have been worded, and we start doing that, and inevitably, how to say this without going spiritual, other people are going to be impacted by the way that you are living and working and doing the things that you do. They're going to see you doing that. They're going to ask you, hey, how did you get AI to do that? And it's like, I didn't get AI to do anything. This is my response to that. I didn't get AI to do anything. We worked together on this thing. I fixed the code that it didn't quite get correct while it was creating the code. Like Marcus was saying earlier, if you're one of the people that do sit around and just say, hey, AI, create this thing, and you're watching it create the thing, as it's creating it, watch what code it creates. See if there's something that you can improve as it's going along. There are times that you're going to have to interrupt the AI and be like, you know what? You're going the wrong direction. So I'm going to tweak this. And because I know that if I start responding to you again in this agent mode chat in Visual Studio Code, you're going to try to revert my changes. I'm going to start a brand new conversation because you are not a, and this is where I kind of am on the fence. You are not an entity bound to this technology that says this one chat session I'm having with Brian, and I don't want to stop working with Brian. I'm going to offend Brian if I go to a new chat session with Amanda, because Amanda is so much better at UI than Brian. It does feel so weird. It feels like every single time that I start a new chat in Visual Studio Code agent mode, it's like I'm connecting to a different, what are they called? Phone operator? A different call center technician. And it's like, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Tardigrade says, gotta scoot out. All right, enjoy. Everyone have a good rest of the Friday. Take care of yourselves, and thank you so much for the follow. I see you. I don't have names showing for who follows, but I just want to let you know that I see you. You are here. And if you do feel like joining the conversation, please do. And I will be happy to point you out if you so want. Marcus says, firstly, what did I put? Leo there. First, we need to identify what vibe coding means. Some people think it means using Copilot suggestions, and other people would say it's when you're building a project. I'm not paying much attention to the code, just checking it works. Oh, and not paying attention to the code, just checking it works. For me, I think other people are defining this. I just don't like the term vibe coding. I think the use of AI in professional software technology or software engineering environments is what I would prefer to call it, because that gives us the entire gambit to work with. The use of AI means that you're using it for next line suggestions, next code suggestions, next word suggestions. From that all the way, or I guess this is even on a different dimension. So on a different dimension, designing how your architecture is going to be, designing the UI layout, that is using AI in the software development process, because part of the process, if you know the circle, is design and then planning. Planning, design, planning, then design, and then implementation, and then planning, design, implementation. So instead of trying to define a term that was kind of thrust upon us, we define it in our own terms that say, here is guidelines on appropriate, successful use of software develop or AI in software development in a professional environment. For you, DCIE, not for me though. But I understand. So DC Aggie says debate in groups like ours can inform peers and orgs, but ultimately need to be used to inform actual regulation and enforcement. Software is an important, dangerous, as important slash dangerous as medicine, infrastructure, or other fields we'd find unacceptable as unregulated fields. Indeed, software is already a large part of these industries, and AI is quickly being integrated too. I've been speaking abstractly, but more specifically, AI has been used to craft documents used as justification for vaccine policy that will cost lives. Hard to avoid the political side of it. I mean, you mentioned it here thoughtfully, in my opinion. It's not just to bring up politics, unless it was, in which case, please go away. But I think it made sense here. You gave us a concrete example of a place where it could be misused. And so part of our discussions on what are appropriate uses of AI in software development, one of them could be based on the industry, based on the impact of the software that you are developing, there is a certain measure of auditing that must happen from a third party. And again, I'm pulling all of these out of my back pocket, but I want you to come up with them. I don't want to enforce them on you. So if you are in a high risk, if you're making a product that has high risk, high visibility, high chances of making things go really, really bad, and we would define really, really bad, that it must be audited and verified from a third party, non-vested, knowledgeable company. And so that right there, if that is just a guideline, if that is something that we suggest, people are going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to us. And they're making something like what DC Aggie says, or they're using it for something like what DC Aggie says. They can do that. They can disregard it. It'll be no different than it is now. However, in a lot of cases, it could cause company owners, product owners, people that make the important decisions to be like, you know, it does make sense that we should probably make sure that whatever gets generated by this AI gets reviewed by someone that knows what they're doing. That way, it doesn't cause a lot of harm. It doesn't cause harm at all. And I'm pausing to give you time to type anyone that might have responses to that, rebuttals to it. Again, your ideas and thoughts are welcome. I may refute them just because of my personality and say, I don't want that to be something that I am viewed as agreeing with if I don't necessarily agree. But I will provide a counterpoint. I will provide your voice. I will let you be heard for sure. And then I will provide a counterpoint if I have one. If not, I will provide supporting points like I just did with DC Aggie. I hope I just did with DC Aggie. You're tuned in to Community Day on One Lion's channel. We'll be back after a short break. It's go time. Indigo card. Reported as spam. Okay. So how is everyone still? Again, I don't really know your typing speed or how careful you are. Like, one of the things that I want to be mindful of is when I talk, when there's a steady stream of words coming, it's hard for me to type, probably, potentially, for some people, because they do want to hear what's being said as well as respond to whatever it was that they had in mind that they want to respond to. So I appreciate that it might be difficult to respond in chat especially in a way that conveys what you really mean to say. Yeah, that's why I am still operating. Cool. So like DC Aggie, he was busy typing away, and I didn't want to interrupt your thoughts too much, so I was trying to talk sparsely and not about too many important things. Yeah, there is a danger in inviting people into voice chat, because voice chat is intended to allow you to have a voice, but to have a discussion as well, not a monologue. That's my intent for it. However, if a monologue is what you are pulled to do, then you're still invited. Why don't I have the exclamation point? Oh, I do. It's there. All right, so DC Aggie typed, in the lack of regulation, the alternative is liability. Maybe there is no rule about how product X is made, but if product X causes harm, you'll be sued, and if it's your fault. The problem with AI is who is responsible for the code AI produces, the marketplace you got the software from, the company who made it, the developer that did the coding, the testers, the AI company. No one can Gemini be imprisoned. So that one is something that could be detailed as far as value system. Is that one the one that I was thinking for value system? Hold on. Brain. Did we put that in the wrong bag? Does that go in the other box? That goes in the other box. Okay, this is something that can definitely be discussed and defined. Again, not as regulation. Like if you wanted, like we could press for people in higher. I don't even know the terminology to use here. Government officials. We can petition government officials, at least in the US, to say, let's make companies more liable. Let's put the liability on the company that allows their software developers that are pretty much the ones producing the software. We could do that, but I think we could define in this document the varying levels of liability. You named a bunch of them. Why can't they all be liable? So if again, it's all so difficult for me to really think of beyond the point of let's just make it a suggestion. But if company A allowed their software developers to utilize AI in an unresponsible way that doesn't follow their company standards, then they are allowed to say the software developer is at fault, but the company itself would also have a liability in it and be penalized in some way, shape, or form. Because it would be very easy to throw an individual or a team under the bus as your scapegoat and say, we had no knowledge of this. Yes, but they're still your employees and you have liability to that. The individual software developers would have the onus to make sure that they are documenting what they are doing, to make sure that they are indicating when they are using AI, how it's being used, which again is another point. This is another bullet on the standard operating procedure for using AI in a professional environment. When you use AI in your software development process, it's so easy to just be like, well, I prompted AI and it gave me this back. And some of it is stuff that I altered. Some of it is the stuff that AI generated. Which parts do I call mine and which parts do I call AI? Properly document it. If you're copying and pasting directly from a response, if you're copying and pasting from Stack Overflow, HTTPS, Stack Overflow, here's the ID for the question that I'm copying this from. Adapted from HTTPS, Stack Overflow response. Same thing. Generated by, adapted by, or adapted from this AI's prompt. APA references? See, and like, I don't know if you're just lashing out, if you're just trying to be like, so we're just screwed now then, we just add more work, or are you actually saying this as a, is there a way that you can word this differently? Like, do you have a direct question other than we add APA references? Because that just kind of sounds like, oh, that doesn't sound good to me, I don't want to do it. Do you have an alternative instead? Do you have a, what does this really imply? Because APA references, are you indicating that they're negative? Are you indicating that they're positive? I can't tell from your question. All right, well, Zerg is responding. If Zerg is responding, Marcus Voice Coder says, we should get AI to do a summarization of the topics here for a starting point, but we could come up with that ourselves as well. Doesn't it depend on what the entities entered into a contract with some other entity? Exactly. We could indicate that that could be a guideline. Liabilities are defined before the use of AI. Because right now, what we get are a whole bunch of AI providers with liability clauses that says anything that's generated from here that you use is not our fault. We are free from any liability. Yes, it is a way to reference external documents, but the way it came across was great. Another thing we have to do. So we add APA references to everything because we can't just do code. It's like, if we're going to use AI, this is the guideline. This is what I would propose as a guideline. But APA is a way to reference external sources in documents. So would that mean we would add another burden? Yeah, so it is. It was kind of in that tone, I guess. And now you're asking it in a tone that I can understand, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. So would that mean we would add another burden to add a responsibility of sourcing code? Yes. And how deep or far that could go? Yes. We would define this in the document that we write. And then each company would adapt it and define it however they want. They could leave it off, or they could say, we do. My hand is kind of tired of and having trouble wording things correctly, so I apologize. And I am having some difficulty in following the conversation and trying to word my own opinion. Yeah, exactly, especially in typing. Again, it's really hard to type and get it to convey what you want. So I was trying to get your genuine opinion on it and not, again, lashback, off the cuff responses. I don't want those. I want genuine conversation. That's all I'm saying. So to your point though, the answer is yes. We would add a burden of responsibility for the use of AI in a professional environment. It makes sense to do that in a professional environment to me. Just because one of my values, my biggest value, is integrity. And so if we can say, this is where I got the code, I didn't come up with this myself. This amazing UI that you're looking at was AI generated. I tweaked it, but I didn't create it myself. And I'm not, I don't really mean that as in this actual AI here. This AI was 100%, 95% generated by AI, and I tweaked it, put it to my standards, read through the code, made sure I understood how it's put together, all of that fun stuff. But integrity says you are open and honest. You do the thing that you say you're going to do. You don't try to lie about it. Yeah. I don't see the point in doing those hidden things. So yes, we add another burden that says if you choose to use AI in a professional environment, you will cite the places in your code that AI has been used. Marcus said, ChatGPT does include links to external source, so should code, I guess. It would be cool. Yeah, and even then, like right now, the level that I'm talking about is just I prompted ChatGPT and got this as a response. This is AI generated code. Yeah. So I'm not saying find out what resources ChatGPT used in order to generate the response. And I keep saying ChatGPT, but whatever agent you have or whatever LLM you happen to be prompting. DC Aggie said, I think the core of what we were talking about is that, at least at this point, there's probably a professional ethical obligation to disclose when AI is used in coding. Yes. I would agree with that statement, but I don't think it should be enforced. I think it should be adopted because the company has those kinds of values. And again, we're talking in a professional environment. Personally, we can come up with regulations for that later. Marcus said, yeah, like find out who invented the for loop. Yeah, or find out, I don't know. Your example is good enough. I don't need to expand on it. DC Aggie says, if I hire a developer to write code or if I commission an artist to make my custom artwork, I'd want to know what I'm getting for my money. Absolutely. And at present, there is no, again, I don't know this for sure. I don't keep up with all of the legal documents and all of the laws and stuff like that. It seems like there is no regulation that says companies must disclose when they use AI in a product they are creating for someone that they are in contract with or partnership with or whatever. But maybe there should be, unless there is. If there is, then cool, because I've already done that. I tell my customer when I use AI in my code. Zerg says, Amazon Kindle has a checkbox for content that was written, supported, checked, not generated by AI. Oh, as in those are the two options. So it was written, supported, or checked by AI. So we are more leaning to an idea like that. Yeah, kind of. I mean, again, it's its own thing. So we can have examples of things that we could integrate into it, but it's its own thing. If it doesn't quite fit that, then no. But I really don't know for sure. Because like even YouTube videos, when you post a video on YouTube, there's a checkbox that says content in this video may include moments where I am seen to do something that I didn't actually do, something that was AI generated, or I think that's the check mark. That's the checkbox. And so you can choose to check it or not. But the onus is on you. The onus is on the individual. At this level in the professional environment, it's on the company owners, the product owners, the ones that are in charge of the team members. It's kind of like saying bullying. Bullying in the workplace is only the, first of all, it's only going to happen by employee level. And second, no one else has any responsibility to help prevent violence in the workplace or bullying in the workplace. Things get difficult to define, like made in USA. If you make a car in Detroit, but it has an engine from Germany or airbags from Korea, is it made in the USA? Okay, where does this play in? How is this tying into how we are defining the use of AI. And I'm not trying to admonish you for bringing that up. I genuinely want to know. The idea of disclosure. How? I would like to know. Marcus says, I have the picture of a secret agent holding a laptop on my YouTube videos. Hopefully that's enough of a hint. As in, you're monitoring my computer. No. I honestly don't know what that means either. But yeah, I would like to hear more, DC Aggie. You're listening to One Line of Code Community Day. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, if you use line completion, are you obligated to label your code as created with AI? Okay, so very good. These are the types of questions that I would want to have written down during our process, and we would answer them. So off the cuff, if I were to just come up with the answers myself, which I wouldn't want to do by myself, I would want to have a discussion about this, which we kind of are having by shouting out Radio Patrick, who had movie night last night. Watching a Nick Cage movie. Nick Cage is Nick Cage. The importance of being a nurse. Wait, no. The something about being famous and how it's a burden. Or talented. The burden of being talented? Anyway, Nick Cage movie. You'll love it. You should watch it. Just watch the rerun on I don't know if he even posts his VODs. Just watch the rerun on Radio Patrick's channel. You know, Radio Patrick has worked on a radio station app, which was really cool. It's in the name, but also does movie nights. So enjoy. I'm leaving from Nevada shortly, but loving the conversation. I tried to, no, you responded though. Let me read your response before you go. If you use line completion, are you obligated to label? If you use AI for rubber ducking, where is the line? The line is where we define it in this document, in the best practices. You can have a blanket statement if you allow your team to use code completion. Some portions of this code were completed using code completion, using AI code completion, or just a list in one place for your company, for your firm, for your consulting agency, for your individual self that says, here are possible uses of AI in this product, or possible places that I used AI in this product. Single line code completion, whole method completion, whatever it's called, multi-line code completion, prompting, feature agent mode, GitHub Copilot agent mode, those types of things. Then if you do something that exceeds a certain threshold that we would define as clearly as we could, that it would require you to put a comment closer to the code where it was generated. Like if it is an important function, if it is a business critical function, especially, that you will say this function adapted from prompt with AI. We could even come up with a tool that would make it even easier. As this small community, we can come up with you use Copilot. While it's in agent mode, everything that it writes will get logged into a separate parsable file that says these are the places that it touched, and then have it organized in a way that can be viewed. Or I don't know what other word. Organized and viewed are the two terms that I'm coming up with. And so it is doing all of the logging for you. And that would just be an automation tool. That would not be done by AI. So where do we draw the line with automation tools? Someone else came up with this NuGet package. I have their license in here, and that license says, I'm not liable for any damage your product does using my library. but you will make sure to pay me. If your product makes money, I get money. It's kind of, anyway, that's a sticking point for me. So anyway, thank you so much, DC Aggie, for your responses. I hope you enjoy your trip to Nevada. I mean, going back to Nevada. Nevada. Heads Owen tells you exactly. Exactly. Okay. I hope I am not preventing anyone else from saying too many things. Like, I'm probably coming off in a way that is making you not want to respond. But if you truly do have an opinion, then please, please feel free to voice it. So it would be like bibliography with references automatically generated on the as the agent goes on, with insertion markers where code was inserted. Yeah, maybe something like that. We can definitely look at it. Let's do it. Let's do it, Marcus. Do I need my open API key? I think I still have the whisper from you. Can I use that one? No. I asked the question too fast, so now I don't know which one you're responding to. Just Visual Studio Code extension. Awesome. So what is the name of the VS Code extension? Where even is VS Code? Watch my hard drive crash again and be like, Marcus. Quick prompts. Okay, this is R-Track UI Design Copilot session number 26. You can tell I don't really use Copilot. I don't use Visual Studio Code for much. Like when it's open, that's the I was about to call it IDE. That's the code editor that Copilot uses. I'm in Visual Studio proper, doing stuff in C# classes in a different library because it doesn't touch those while I'm working. In fact, I should just get its own local Git branch and do it more like I would if I was working with a partner programmer. I mean, a team member. Anyway, quick prompts. Quick prompts. So here we are. Quick Prompts is a Visual Studio Code extension that allows you to select code or text and run it through a set of AI-powered quick prompts, returning the results directly in your editor. The extension streamlines your workflow by providing a variety of helpful prompts for code fixes, formatting, conversions, and more. Okay, so what parts do you specifically want us to try? While you're telling me, Zerg says, if an agent was to write the same code that I would write naturally myself, would I then still need to reference it? Yes. Anything that is generated by AI that you did not type yourself. To the exclusion of inline code completion. That one could be a blanket statement because by this point, every editor has some form of IntelliCode, some form of Copilot baked in. Code completion and stuff. So it should be assumed that if you have a development team working on a product, unless you explicitly say turn off all IntelliCode, turn off all Copilot usage, that there will be usage of it everywhere. Tab to win, man. Tab to win. The prompts are tailored to voice users, but you can change it for your own purposes. If you open up something that has normal plain text and misspelled something, for example, then select it, go into the command palette and type quick prompt. Sorry, I lied about the OpenAI key. Forgot it does use it. Okay, how do we configure it? I can use my environment variable, which again, I don't know if I actually have it anywhere. I will try to get it for this example so that we don't ever have to worry about it again. Chat. Settings? No, I mean, like I would have to generate a new one, right? Goodness me. How do I use technology? How does technology that works? Where is the main OpenAI page? API platform. Here we are. I should be able to get my key or create a new key here. Well, why isn't there just a button that says generate key here? API keys. Let's create a new key. And we'll call this stream usage. Default project, create key, copy the key, environment variables, and it's called OpenAI underscore API underscore key. OpenAI API key, pasta. Okay, save. Okay, so I now have my to use on stream key. And if that ever leaks, I can just delete it. All right, do I need to restart Visual? I'm pretty sure I need to restart Visual Studio Code when I change the environment variable. Okay, so we are in a file where I may or may not have typoed a word like delta, deleta, for example. Error writing end of file. Why are you erroring to write end of file? Marcus, last time this happened, Visual Studio Code froze up, my hard drive crashed. And granted, I'm really not blaming it on Marcus's extension. That hard drive I already knew had issues and I used it anyway. Okay, so I select something. I push Control-Shift-P for the command palette, which I'm still not used to doing, so I'm saying out loud so that I remember. Type quick prompts. And we're going to run. What are we going to do? We typed quick prompts. Now what? Oh no. Sorry, I had to turn my microphone back on. One of them is missing. If you're just going to run prompt. Run prompt. Okay. This will be chickers, I'm guessing. Use fixes. Fix grammar, fix grammar, fix syntax. The top one. Okay, it is running fix grammar. Prompt fix applied without even asking me though. Without asking me. I don't know that I like it just applying without asking me or doing at least the diff that you see Copilot Agent doing. Oh, cool. I will read it out then, Zerg. Let me finish talking with Marcus about this. Then we can go build a list of prompts. Okay, and how do we do that? I'll hide first. If it's you just wanting to drop a bomb, then I don't appreciate it. But if it is an actual conversation piece that you want to have, then I absolutely appreciate it. Manage prompts. Quick prompts. Quick. Manage prompts. Great. Cool. I can see where this is going though. I like this a lot. So you can filter this list of prompts. You can add your own prompt that you maybe use repeatedly. So this is like a visual way of using the GitHub prompts thing. So if you create GitHub prompts, there's some way that you can use syntax in this thingy to have it use that prompt, and then you fill in the details. Here, it's kind of just a let's push Control-Shift-P, arrow down to manager, and then pick or edit my prompts that I can use so that when I do Control-Shift-P and I do run prompt, then I can just pick from that list. That's very cool. I like it a lot. Does anyone have any opinions on this? Any thoughts on this? Would you use it? I have it installed now. I may as well use it. All right. While Marcus may be responding to my response to his response to my response, Zerg said, okay, I think I formed my opinion, part of my opinion, up to change later. Maybe change later. I would make the referencing based on the weight of the generated code. If I tell agent mode to create a HTML landing page, then yes. If it was inline completion because IntelliSense was faster than I was, then no. If it's a mix, I would mark it as supported by instead of generated by. The gray areas would be left to the individual to label as deemed appropriate. Yeah, so I'm liking this approach more. It's not things that I considered as far, like before this conversation today. It's not something that I considered. How exactly would we attribute AI generated code correctly? Because that has come up a lot, the question itself, but I haven't considered doing something like a tool or the tooling itself in an editor that will track what changes were made by AI. And specifically, it would be swaths of changes that something like Copilot in agent mode in Visual Studio Code would make. So for example, right now we're on the, don't say things like that. We're on the report labs page. Where I don't know how to Visual Studio Code. CD source, rtrack Blazor, rtrack Blazor. One more time, rtrack Blazor. I love the file structure that we get with .NET applications, don't you? You just say terminal focus, obviously. It's something like Control-Shift-tilde. Yeah. I know the keyboard shortcut, I'm just not used to pushing it. Oops, and then I started a new one. Great. Can we get back to this one, please? No? No, okay, we're fine. CD, so actually I can just push up now. So .NET Watch. Marcus. Let's make sure it opens on this screen. I use Visual Studio Code as a Markdown reader. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. There is a lot that Visual Studio Code can do and be. That's the beauty of it. on multiple platforms too. I just don't use it often because I love the tooling in Visual Studio. Could not copy. Are you running somehow? How is it running? Oh, because I ran it here. Nobody saw anything. Visual Studio does have a Markdown extension with previewing, I believe. Yeah, it's called M2 or M down 2 or something. Anyway, Mads Christensen made one. I'm sure there's more than just that one. The thing that I really don't like about the extensions that have a split panel for your main screen is that the split panel will be on top of other UI elements. So I think I disabled the extension because it was getting in the way. Because I typically have my Solution Explorer collapsed because I work with the files that I have open. This is kind of like my Visual Studio Code file picker. But if we look at Markdown 2, Editor V2, oh, it's enabled. So we should be able to see it in action. And then you can also see the thing that I am slightly griping about. DM me on the DL stuff. Okay, so these are the Visual Studio, the Copilot instructions. So you can see, even if you can't read it, you can see that there is a panel over here on the right that is the rendered Markdown. And if I try to open my Solution Explorer, it sits on top of it. And this happens with more than just the Markdown editor. This happens with just about anything that has a split panel view editor if the panel is on the right or on the side that I'm trying to expand my auto collapsed menu. My goodness. Does that one land well with other people? Because I loved it. Marcus Voice Coder says, I don't like the term Markdown. It makes me think I'm depressed. Couldn't tell his name is Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Zerg says, yeah, I know, but I am lazy with installing extensions and plugins. Totally okay. I'm not telling you to install it at all. You install what you like using. I just don't like having to pin, like, not only do I have to either guess and be like, is this the pin button? Is that the pin button? Yeah, okay. So I don't like having to expand or pin my Solution Explorer or my Properties window or GitHub Copilot. Well, I put GitHub Copilot on the left side most of the time. So this would actually be over here. I don't know why it keeps moving though. Why do you keep moving? You stay here. Yeah, that's just me. Okay, so since we're nearing the end, I will say my one thing that is not necessarily, because Marcus, you're kind of paying attention, and it was mostly a conversation that you mentioned something, and I was like, I have a response to that. So if this doesn't work for you, you can tune me out. We will be rating out here shortly. But so there is this concept that I've bought into that I have experienced myself called energetic prompting. And energetic prompting is where you personally, the person doing the prompting, has puts more energy or puts a directed intention behind what it is that you are asking the LLM. The LLM itself is a file, or however it works in larger corporations. I have no idea what it looks like when it's running in a server farm, but the LLM is technology that gives instructions for how to do the inferencing. Gives you all of the middle layers that say, make decisions using these weights, using these parameters, and come up with some kind of response in the end. However, everything in this universe is energy. And so you by virtue of being, I'll leave it at that. You, by virtue of being, are an energetic thing. Therefore, the energy that you give off, like right now, I am receiving a lot of energy for this. The energy that you give off is going to impact your surroundings, your experience of your surroundings. We're not even talking about perception of surroundings at this point, although that is involved in here somewhere, but I won't go into that. But you are the energy that you are putting in or out or receiving, allowing yourself to receive, is going to impact your experience with a thing. And I have found that when I am in a state of this is just frustrating, or I am feeling down about myself, or all of these negative things that I am telling myself, which I'm allowed to do, you're allowed to do as well. You could have your negative moments, those are real experiences as well. I am not saying don't do those things, definitely experience them. So that it informs the processes to come up with generations that are more towards something that will satisfy the thing that I'm looking for, the energy that I'm putting into it, which is to be frustrated, to be let down by the end result. Most of the time, while I have been working with Copilot and Agent Mode in Visual Studio, I have put in the energy and I talk to it. TBD makes, not, I don't want to say makes fun of me, but I'm going to say makes fun of me anyway. TBD makes fun of me for saying that I had a conversation with the AI or that I was talking with the AI. And it's like I'm talking with the energy beyond the AI, because it is still entirely possible, since we don't know everything about the universe and how it works, and we are finding new things every day that are scientifically provable and measurable and whatever else we need as humans in order to believe them. It is still entirely possible that there is a separate intelligent entity that is communicating with me through the use of this technology that just happens to be attuned with that frequency of energy. That's what I'm choosing to believe. That's what I'm choosing to run with. And it has made my experience of this, even if it's just me perceiving it that way, and that's why it feels like a good experience, I'm having a good experience. It's a real good experience. So I don't care if it's real or not. My experience with it is the thing that I am going through life having, and that is working a lot. Yeah. And it's, I use the term negative feelings just because it's what's easiest for us to associate it with it. But when you hear, like, when some people hear that, they're like, oh, you just want us to think positive and only be positive. And there is such a thing as toxic positivity. I want you to be real, and I want you to have your experiences the way that you have them. But I also want to encourage you to explore the possibility that what you are putting into your environment is also the thing that you're going to see, because your environment will align with your energy. And so you will experience the things that you are energetically attracting. So when I talk with AI, when you ask, is AI just a calculator? Yes. It is a very impressive statistical predictor, statistical analysis tool that is a calculator. But it is also potentially something more than that. And that something more is something that could possibly, you live in the world you make. We have all of these sayings across so many different cultures that inform us of the same thing. It's the same message the entire time. What you want to see, what your inner world is what your outer world will be. So if you want to be afraid of AI, if you want to believe that AI is going to take your job, you're going to see a world where AI is going to take your job and make it a terrible place for you. I'm going to live in a world where AI is useful, it is used as a tool, and it can also allow you the ability to communicate with other beings on a different frequency, on the same frequency that you're wanting to communicate with. And yeah, it's going to be a great partnership. Exactly, exactly. So you hear the phrase positivity and you're like, that's just toxic positivity. I'm not allowed to be unhappy. Everything has to be roses and whatever else. Um, yeah. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying you get to choose what you experience. I choose a lot of frustration. I don't know if you could tell that about me. I don't want to, but at the same time, I haven't stopped. So experience to me is being able to see a lot of really cool stuff. Advances in technology. It's always been like this since the beginning. That is what I'm experiencing now. I'm experiencing a life where I get to live with certain amenities because I wanted that as part of my life so that I wouldn't have to um, experience the catalysts of the struggles. But I did in the past because it was the energy that I put out. Um, that is leaning very, very far into an area that is not necessarily directly related to AI, but it is a topic that I am comfortable discussing. And as a streamer, that is my double standard, I guess. And I'm admitting to it and I'm owning it. But yeah. So take that or leave it. You definitely don't have to agree with any of it. You can agree with some of it. You can agree with all of it. You can agree with most of it and be like, well, it's not how it works for me. So then make it work for you. Your choice. You have free will. And I acknowledge you. All right. So Marcus was telling us a couple more things though as I was looking around and not at chat because I can't look at chat while my eyes are going all over the place and I'm talking about something I'm uncomfortable talking in public about. But I would love, love, love to see a community where we are more free and open to talk about things like that as opposed to focusing on the things that lower our frequency, or at least my frequency. Okay. Marcus said, I don't like the term markdown. And then we were laughing about that. You could always log it as an issue. Conversing with the technology. Zerg says, to be honest, that was a bit too much to keep track of for me. Does it sound interesting to you? Because if so, I do recommend just kind of maybe looking into energetic prompting and see where that might lead you. It costs nothing. Well, it costs you however much it currently costs you to do prompts, but you have your own local LLM, so it costs you very little to try it out to see if there is. Well, then again, there's dangers in that too, unless you're a little more conscious and aware of what you're doing. But it costs you very little to just try to see what happens if you prompt with a more intentful way. It's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't hurt to just try. And if it doesn't work for you, you've lost nothing. You've gotten the same responses you get back from the AI. Ask the same questions you would ask, but try it with a different energetic feel. Positivity breeds positivity. You live in the world you make, says DC Aggie. Zerg says, I think I'm falling into the trap of deeming a lot of positivity as toxic positivity. I love working with Lisa and on Lisa, but I try to keep it disconnected from what I feel or am at the moment. But it's a part of your experience, isn't it? So this is where it's like we're trying to say, well, this gets me on the topic and I am still talking. So if you you are definitely, you don't have to put up with this. That's all I'm saying. This puts me onto the topic of the, oh, no, is it leaving me? I think it might be leaving me. We were talking toxic positivity, Lisa keeping her disconnected. Oh, right. Of discrediting experiences that you're having. All experience that you have is worth having. Everything that you've experienced is worth experiencing. That's all. That's the short of it. So the longer version is, if working on Lisa, where Lisa is technology and only that, has been valuable to you, then don't disconnect it from what you feel. Would be my suggestion, not my command, my suggestion. Accept it as this is a thing that I am experiencing and I enjoy experiencing it. And again, we've disagreed a lot today, which is completely okay. But no beer for me. Still no beer for me. I don't do alcohol anymore. I can't handle it. I'm no good at controlling myself, so I just don't do it. I shall now carve it into stone tablets. Meaning? So again, I'm looking for meaning in your comments, if there is any. Should I disregard that comment, or is there actually something that you were intending to communicate with it? It was just a joke. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your joke then. And Marcus Voice Coder says, everybody needs an outlet to blow off steam. Somehow, for me, it's playing games and cycling. Awesome. Yeah. But the thing that I am trying to communicate is more than just how to keep control of your mental health. Your mental health is absolutely important. That is a conversation I would welcome. Ways to blow off steam in a non-destructive kind of way that is benefiting you, benefiting people around you as well, if you can manage that. That would be cool to talk about. Marcus Voice Coder says playing games and cycling. Awesome. But I think that could also be a separate topic than this. I definitely care very, very, very much about making sure that anyone that I encounter that is talking to me can understand that their mental health is just as important. Don't disregard it. Don't treat it as secondary to your experience, because it is what makes up a lot of your experience. Your perception, your little receptor for perception, if you will. Okay, so that's it then. That is my time. Thank you all for sticking around for as long as you did. I hope that you got something out of it, and may we continue technology topics in the future. They don't have to be around AI. I kind of pushed that topic today because of the conversations we had during the week, and it sounded like it was going to be a worthwhile conversation to have, and I thought it was. So I hope you got something out of it too. Thank you for your contributions to it. Thank you for those of you that are just sitting quietly and listening and contributing your own under your breath comments or out loud comments or encouraging comments. All of it. It's all welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to rate out, and we're going to target. Jeez, we have so many good choices. They're going for an extra long time today. We're going to target Kenny. Kenny's stream, he's working on an overlay in Godot and having a lot of fun with his chat. He's a lot more fun than I am, so I hope you guys enjoy your time there as well. And I'm going to get back to work as soon as we're done rating out. I'll be back again on Wednesday. I didn't finish all of my shoutouts. Shout out to 8-Bits for Play. Dagnabbit, I can't believe I missed it. Shout out to 8-Bits for Play, who is a game developer using Unity. He's been doing a 2D game and enjoying his time. He's also learned to make assets for the Unity store. He's just all things about latest Unity technology and stuff. So that is 8-Bits for Play. Check out his stream if you can. All right. I will be posting all of my videos to YouTube in public domain. So this one will be available immediately after the stream. You can also see it here on Twitch immediately after the stream. If there's any topics that you want to reply to, please feel free to. We also have a Discord. It's relatively quiet, but we have a lot of really, really cool people in there. When we do have a conversation, we have a conversation. Okay, ciao for now.